Hey! Welcome back to The Empire Never Ended. We're having a little cocktail party.
Hello.
What do they call those things? Soirees? Is that what we're doing now?
It's a soiree.
It's a classy soiree is what we're having today.
Classy soiree.
Yeah, so, pour yourself a highball. I think that's any kind of liquor, isn't it? It's like just booze.
You know better than me.
Let's say, get yourself some Four Locos or whatever, and
now
let's
we're
talk about
talking.
Nazi swing music. So we got So I'm Fritz. Here's Boris. Here's Ray.
Hey,
We're ready to.
Hey, Fritz. This is the second
Get
time
down.
this arc that we have a Fritz.
Oh God damn it! It's never a good sign.
Yeah, we'll have a Fritz Brockzieper today.
That sounds promising. I'm sure he's not a Nazi.
He's actually not.
Hey,
He's one of the few people that we're going to talk about into some length that isn't a Nazi.
oh
In
thank
fact,
God.
is part Jewish and kind of hid out from the Nazis by playing in a Nazi band.
Finally, a Fritz that I could hang out with, but who probably wouldn't hang out with me though. He sounds pretty cool.
Well, I don't know. You played music at some point.
Let's call it. Yeah,
You could probably
let's say
could have jammed with him if he didn't die in
we could have jammed.
1990.
Could have jammed. You ever jam, dude? That's what I would have said. You like fish?
No.
There must be Nazi fish, though. There must be. Like,
oh yeah.
fucking
Well, jam
Nazi
band
jam
shit is
bands.
full of fucking Nazis.
Yeah, it's got that. Yeah, because they're whatever that kind of spiritualist bent and all that shit too, huh? Probably
I
attractive.
think it's not even that. It's just there are lots of hippie Nazis. It's a thing. But why are we talking about jam bands? What are we talking about today? I think Fritzy Fritzy already hinted at it a little bit. We're going to be talking today about the phenomenon of Nazi swing music. Now, this isn't really directly tied to our arc in the sense that it's not something that originated in the United States, and it's something that happened during World War II, which we decided to skip pretty decisively.
I think y'all got pretty sick of that shit from the Balkans arc.
Yeah, we had enough World War II over there.
Sure.
But there is this strange phenomenon of Nazi-made, that is made by the Goebbels and the propaganda ministry in Germany, of American swing music parodied with Nazi lyrics.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is interesting for this arc for a few reasons. One, it's kind of the fusion of American culture with Nazism, which is something we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. And also, when you listen to some of them, I got some real, Fritz Kuhn vibes, especially on the songs that are more, directed towards Americans. It had very kind of Bundes moments.
Fritz Kuhn, of course, the leader
Fritz
of the
Kuhn.
German-American Bund, or
Yes.
the main kind of Nazi organization, German Nazi organization in America in the 30s.
Yeah, the most famous, the big
And embarrassing.
Madison Square Garden, Nazi rally.
Mm.
That's one of the reasons that we're doing it. The other is that it's kind of gives me a little bit of an insight into the weird Nazi psyche of just kind of not being very creative, being good at not even parody.
Yeah, they're very bad at parody, but it is parody. It is
parody.
But it's just basically swapping words with other words that sound similar but are Nazi. Or it's
the kind of shit you could get a passing grade on in middle school in your history project, by swapping out the words of I don't know. For me, it was a Tripping Daisy song with some historical words. You turn it in, you get an A. I think that's what this is. Middle school.
Yeah, this stuff's extremely well done, and even some of the puns are creative. But the kind of general point of Nazis in the musical sphere, never being able to master pop culture properly without having to steal it from black people, or in this case, black people and Jewish people, is pretty telling to their inability to make good pop music of any kind. And so we'll probably rip on them for ripping off ska and hip hop and all that at some point. So yeah, but for right now, we're gonna take a time machine back to the 1940s. And I gotta say, I'm not somebody who's super well versed in swing music.
I
do know some of these I had an album at one point of Yiddish swing songs. It was called like, I don't know, it's one of these compilations that's called like Jewish mafia music or something, and it's like Yiddish swing from like the 20s and 30s, and it was pretty badass. And like I recognized some songs that they mock in their productions because of this. But you know, some of the stuff is also common knowledge. Like I've heard "Making Whoopee" before. I hadn't heard it with Nazi lyrics, but like I know the song. I know some of these songs, but like, you know, if somebody's like a swing expert, I'll probably make them cringe by not being sure what was made, written by whom and when, all that fun stuff. So not my area of expertise.
I couldn't tell. You always show up in those, like, you know, those what do you call those fucking suits? God damn it, zoot suit.
Oh yeah,
you always got your zoot suit on.
I did go to some like swing nights back in the day.
Oh yeah,
I had a friend that DJ'd it. It was pretty badass. Like people that are into that shit, like in modern day, are like fucking wild. Like they do crazy ass shit on the dance floor.
It should probably be an Olympic sport.
Yeah. There's like dudes like picking people up and spinning them around and shit. Like it's pretty wild. I don't think that happened in the Nazi swing music because, well, part of what makes this interesting and unique is that, of course, Nazis banned all forms of, they called it beep N-word music.
I also understand it was called jungle music, which...
the official term was literally N-word music.
Yeah. Class. Always classy, the Nazis.
Yeah. Even though, I mean, there was like a long history in Germany of like American music in general was really popular, and especially like jazz and swing was like quite popular in the 20s. And of course, there were a lot of famous Jewish swing and jazz musicians who ended up fleeing the Nazis and going to the US and continuing their careers there. Yes, although like they made a specific point to change lyrics to Germanicize them. This was kind of even before the Nazis came to power. I mean there were a lot of, you know, Jewish jazz and swing musicians in Germany and in Europe in general that moved to the US and continued their careers there and became very famous. There were like big hit songs like Bei mir bist du schön, which
of course.
You probably heard that song, and Bublichki and stuff like that. And some of these, you know, artists were also from Russia. I mean, that's like a pretty interesting mix when you listen to like Yiddish swing music from the US from the 30s and 40s. But, you know, with the rise of the Nazis, a lot of them, obviously all of them that could escape did escape. Now, some of them didn't, and that's what makes this, what we're talking about today, rather interesting. So the band that we're talking about today is called Charlie and His Orchestra. That's what it was called in English. In interviews with the actual members of the band, they never really heard that name. To them, it was always the Lutz Templin Band, which was named after the kind of band leader, which is this guy, Ludwig Lutz Templin, who was a violinist and I think a clarinetist as well.
I heard it was called Teplinwaffen.
It was not. But since, you know, all degenerate black music was banned in Germany, you know, these musicians were kind of out of work or whatever. And so when the war rolls around, Goebbels was pretty aware that, of course, this music was immensely popular both in Germany, but especially, of course, initially in Britain. That was the initial target. And then later when the U.S. joined the war, the U.S. And so they decided to gather up all of the kind of best known, like, you know, virtuoso musicians of jazz and all this like band music in Germany and employ them in the propaganda ministry to play in a radio station that was directed towards Western troops, particularly the British and later Americans. So they gathered up all these guys like Lutz Templin, Fritz or Freddie later, Freddie Brocksieper, who was one of the most important people in this band, and interestingly enough, was part Jewish. So he was born in Istanbul, and was part Greek Jewish, I think, and part German. And he was, I guess, such a well-respected musician that, like, when he got the call to do it, he was just like, okay, fuck it, I'm doing it. Because, you don't want to risk, I guess he probably didn't want to risk what happened to, like, some of his colleagues. I saw in this documentary that, like, he'd played in a band with a bunch of other German Jewish guys, a bunch of whom made it out in the U.S., to the U.S., and a lot of them didn't and ended up in camps and shit. So for this guy, it was like he had a pretty clear motive for joining this band. But the kind of villain in this is Charlie. And Charlie is this guy, he's kind of a shady character. And, I can't find that much about his real background. So his name is Karl Heinrich Schwedler, who was known as Charlie Schwedler. He spoke remarkably good English, although, so like in this documentary about this band, where they interviewed the band members in like the 70s while they're all still alive, they had said that he was like well-traveled, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of like intelligence background on him already. Because I mean, like, as you'll hear in some of the songs, like, he does have this like Fritz Kuhn kind of Bond villain German accent sometimes, but like his grasp of the English language is like really good. Like, I mean, he's like able to write these puns and all this other stuff like considerably well. And like later, after the war, when they talked to all these band members, they said that they like, they were just there performing the music, and he did the lyrics and performed them separately or recorded them separately and stuff. They had kind of no idea why they were playing this music. Well, now, whether or not that's them trying to get out of being obvious collaborators or not is another question. Although in that documentary, the Italian guy, because later on they brought in like people from the newly occupied territories. So a bunch of them were Dutch. Some of them were Italian. And one of the Italian guys was just like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Like, like they were the only job that was paying for a musician. Like, you work for like the, Ministry of Propaganda. We were making mad money, like running around Berlin, like fucking buying shit off the black market. Like, like living the life while everybody else was suffering in hard times. So to be clear, these guys were playing music. They were recording very often. I mean, at a certain point, they were recording daily, and it was being broadcast on shortwave radio. So to be available to, people far, far away. German listeners weren't necessarily supposed to listen to this, obviously, because it was degenerate music. But given the fact that like German popular culture at the time had basically only produced the Lily Marlene as like a hit song, and that's about it. I think from what I understood and from what some of these musicians implied in some of the interviews with them, they were also like kind of also playing secret gigs and shit like that. And there were Germans that were like tuning into this stuff because this was like immensely popular music, right? But the propaganda effort wasn't only limited to music. Like, they were also doing like, and of course we've seen this in many other wars too, right? I mean, the PSYOP, getting somebody to speak your language and do propaganda and whatever. That's not unusual because they did like these radio plays and all that kind of stuff, which I think was less successful than this. Like, this music apparently, since it was all covers of very popular songs and songs that people all knew, but with very targeted messages, like, since they were producing these almost every day, they would frequently reference events that just happened. So like, during the Blitz in England, they would send out these songs to the average British guy and be like, we're going to win. And so, you might as well come to terms with the fact that, like, the British Empire is bad, that we're offering you pretty much a better better life. There's one song in particular, I think, that deals with this. And like, I don't think we have to listen to this one or anything, but it's just interesting to me. It's called Nice People. And it's like told from the perspective of like a working class British person. And then like how everybody above them are like nice gentlemen, but that like aren't suffering like they are. And then like, you know, they produce these, you know, wonderful officers that, you know, do all these things and travel around, and, you know, you're just kind of stuck.
This is
being bombed.
This is my literal nightmare. Like, this is my actual nightmare. Like, living in a world where every once in a while, like, a fucking topical swing band comes on to, like, try to make me a Nazi.
Yes.
That's my definition of hell. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very strange kind of music to use in propaganda purposes during a war. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the effect, like, now what you explained, I kind of get it, but I was puzzled by, like, what were they aiming for? Like, because the lyrics are mostly very, like, ridiculous, and everything that's good about those songs is not original or German at all. So it's kind of, like, it's very hard to be demoralized by this music. I would think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But...
Well, it's kind of like old school trolling, for real.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally just like, you know, making Nazi versions of things that you know, and just being like, ha ha ha, fuck you. But at the same time trying to appeal. And that's where, like, I think it's remarkably ineffective. And especially like when they're kind of
like Christian rap, like when churches try to rap.
Right. Like, yeah, we're cool, you know, like
no.
Jesus is my
I'm
homeboy.
here to tell you about Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Like, I think the people that were listening to this, and we'll get into this, like, with what happened to them after the war, they thought it was fucking hilarious because it's, like, ridiculous and, like, it's absurd. But I think that on some level, like, Goebbels and those people thought it would be effective.
Yeah.
Like, they thought that, like, if you point out that the Jews are the ones behind the war, that, you know, they'll turn on the Jews, and then, you know, they won't have to get invaded. Yeah. Because, like, half of the songs are, like, when they're directed towards Americans, it's like, oh, Britain's about to fall. Like, you don't want to catch an invasion. Like, figure out that, like, you know, FDR is actually a secret Jew, and, you know, get rid of the Jews in your country and you'll be fine.
Yeah, but I also feel like it kind of works a bit like a lot of folk punk works, where you're like, you already kind of really got to want this message to enjoy this music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
right. But I mean, like, the people that wanted that message, I think, weren't the ones listening to it.
Yes, that's the problem with this. Because the Nazis were not listening. You know.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, some of the.
That's
like,
just, by the way, a lesson. I sorry to interrupt, but I consider that an important lesson for folk punkers when they go to parties. Like, there's a time and a place.
Yeah,
there's very rarely a time and a place. Like, I will say that right now.
It was called the late 90s.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, like, apparently, like, Churchill liked to listen to this. Like, he enjoyed it. And, like, so I can see a lot of people listening to it, like, in Britain.
Well,
like,
he didn't like those commies either, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Well, he found the puns funny, and they did, like, frequently make fun of him personally.
Okay.
Which, to be honest, like, isn't fucking hard, because, you know, he was a drunk lunatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently, by some accounts, he did, like, find this shit hilarious. But, I mean, the actual musicians, like I said, were, like, the best of the best in Europe. The ones that weren't Jews, except for, like, the case of that drummer. Like, you know, they found the best guys to do it. And you can tell, I mean, it sounds, like, good. You know, when you listen to it, it is fucking catchy ass swing music.
Until the motherfucker opens his mouth.
until you're like, oh, look, this is the, you know, making whoopee. And he's like, the Jews of the USA have asked Eddie Cantor to make a new version of his famous old timer, making whoopee. And then you're like, oh, wait, now he's going to start singing about Jews for a while. I mean, like, there's something like that like song, I've Got a Pocket Full of Dreams, which, you know, is, I guess, you know, Louis Armstrong played it. I think it was written by, like, Johnny Burke or whatever. And the refrain in this case goes, gonna save the world for Wall Street. Gonna fight for Russia too. I'm fighting for democracy. I'm fighting for the Jew.
Oh,
Hey!
Yeah.
God.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's so lame. It's such... It really is. It's church rap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite bad. Although
But
I will say,
church
so
rap
like,
was trying to lampoon Satanists.
yeah. So I mean,
sounds awesome.
so in most cases, like, you know, they take the famous like swing songs and give them weird anti-Semitic lyrics, or sometimes it'll just be kind of the same song, and then in the middle there will be like that interlude where like the guy talks, where it would normally be like, I'd like to introduce you to our blah, blah, blah. He's like, so tonight Winston Churchill is trying to win, but he doesn't know that the Jewish hand is like it's comically like
This is hell.
anti-Semitic to the level that it's like a Bruno sketch or some shit.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yes, thank you. That's what this
It's like-
reminds me of. It's a Bruno
Where it's
sketch.
like a guy with like almost a fake sounding German accent just being like, but the Jewish hand is in your pocket, and like, you know, that kind of shit. But they do. So one theme I did notice is that some of the famous songs that were typically performed by Jewish or written by Jewish artists are made into anti-communist songs specifically.
Yeah.
And so why don't we get into that one first? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. What do we got? Is that Making Whoopee?
No, that's Hold Tight.
Hold tight.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I actually
the one
like
about
this
murdering everybody.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like that bad of a deal, honestly.
No, it's
Murder and Vice is
They
something nice.
accidentally made a good song.
So actually, I guess before we play this song, before we listen to this song, I should just mention that Hold Tight was a song made popular by the Andrews Sisters, which is a big swing ensemble at the time from, I think, Minneapolis. And the original refrain is hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Photo dada yakasaki. I want some seafood mama. Shrimps and rice, they're very nice. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Photo Diakasaki wants some seafood mama. Shrimps and rice, they're very nice.
What is happening?
So let's see what old Charlie boy and his orchestra did to make that anti-communist.
Okay, you ready?
All right.
Red front, red front, red front, red front.
Red front.
Furani Ekiseki wants some communism.
This is my favorite
Bugs
part.
and lies, they're very nice.
Bugs and lies.
Red front, red front, red front, red front. Furani Ekiseki wants some communism.
Yeah, this is great.
Bloodshed,
You're
of
right.
course.
Isn't
and
this
then,
great?
of course,
Yeah.
I like murder. Murder too. I like my tasty smell of blood. When I come home from work at night, I give my favorite yell, hell, red front, red
Holy
front,
shit.
red front, red front.
That took a
Ferrari
turn.
Ekiseki wants some communism.
Communism.
Murder and vice, it's very nice.
Oh, fantastic.
There we go. Solo time.
Do we keep it going? Does it get worse?
I don't know. I actually
Better?
like listening to this, but
All right, let's play it out. This is the best episode we ever did.
I mean, this song could be a hit now, for the wrong reasons. But it could.
I mean, it was a hit, just not with these lyrics.
Yeah, I mean,
think
with
we're-
this
It's
lyric.
a huge fucking hit.
I hope we're about to help give a second life to this song. For completely non-ironic leftists. I'm tempted to just make everybody hear the whole song.
Just make them listen
Not fucking
to
cut any
four
of it.
songs in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we won't be sued by the Nazis.
God, you expect he's gonna start again?
Yeah.
He only has a small. That's the thing, I guess, is he only came up with. He's got a day to come up with a song, I guess.
Yeah.
He does
Yeah.
his best. He comes up with a hook and a verse. What else do you want from him?
No, I guess, I don't know if he goes back into lyrics, but...
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
This is the one you said should be the new theme song to TENE, right?
Yeah, I was kind of joking,
Yeah.
but I think it would be. I think people would be very confused. Yeah.
I mean, it's got like things that,
We support.
murder and vice,
Yes.
fleas and lice. I mean, that's like punk as fuck, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or was it like vermin and lice or something?
Yeah.
It was, literally a band called Fleas and Lice that I used to listen to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
More free beer for the punks and that kind of thing.
I think, Ray, what you just said about it, about people being very confused if this was our theme song, I think that's probably exactly what Charlie said when they asked him, like, hey, how'd it go today? Well, I think people will be very confused.
Yeah.
This is a very confusing song.
Well, like, so this is the thing again with their anti-communist songs are like almost always exclusively like ironic, right? It's always like, Bublichki is like, I'm a Bolsheviki.
This is not at all far removed from the shit going on today with like right-wing parody songs. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same,
Yes.
just with much worse music in the background.
Yeah, I gotta say this is the music is like very catchy, and it's been fucking with my head too because I was like,
It's great.
well, no, I mean like this one's fine to get stuck in your head because it's like, okay, sure, I do want some communism and yeah, fleas and lice. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So it's getting it's much worse from now on.
But like once you get like
We're crossing the Rubicon.
once you cross the Rubicon into like another Jewish plot, and then like it's kind of bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we doing next? Let's load up the next deck.
So yeah, let's subject you all to some more of this.
Which one now?
Should we go right into Making Whoopee?
All right, DJ Hot Content, load it up. So, all right, so Making Whoopee, popularized by Eddie Cantor, who is called out by name, I believe, in the song, right?
Yes.
Lyrics by Gus Kahn, who wrote a shit ton of other famous songs. Ella Fitzgerald, I think, had her hand. Doris Day, Frank Sinatra, lots of people. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a great classic song. If you don't know Making Whoopee at least a little bit, this should not be your introduction to it.
Eddie Cantor, by the way, was Jewish. So
all right. So let's hear the Nazi version.
This is like a very
Whoopee.
extremely anti-Semitic, like insane version of what is otherwise a very fun and lovely song.
Well, this should be fun for me to edit then. Here we go.
Indeed. All right.
Let's go. Let's play it on go. It'll be a 1, 2, 3, go. All right.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go. Hey, I love this song. This is my jam.
What could go wrong?
I think I know this one.
Hey, all gather round. It's the original Eddie Cantor song, Making Whoopee.
The Jews of USA have asked Eddie Cantor to write a new version of his famous old-timer Making Whoopee. In one of his latest programs on the air, he sang the following song. Another war, another prophet,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
another Jewish business trick, another season, another reason
God.
for making whoopee. A lot of dough, a lot of
Wait, so what does it
gold.
mean to him?
The British Empire's being sold.
Making money. or
We're in the
something, I
money.
guess.
Yep.
Thanks to Frankie, we're making whoopee. Washington is our ghetto.
Frankie's Roosevelt, I guess, huh?
Roosevelt, our king. Democracy is our motto.
Oh,
Think what a war can bring. We throw our German names away. We are the
Okay, all right. This is not the version.
You are the Goys folks. We are the boys folks. We're making whoopee.
God damn.
Good lord. Well, shit.
This was a lot less fun than We Want Communism.
It's depressing. Also, I think he just doesn't know what making whoopee meant in the original
No, he
song.
doesn't.
No, he clearly doesn't.
Like, that's so sad.
Yes.
He's just clearly not
Kind of
invited.
negates his whole point, too. Like, we're fucking.
Yeah. I mean,
We rejected our German names and we are fucking now in America.
so it sounds like everything worked out great. What?
Yeah, right?
People are making money, apparently? It sounds fine. All right.
They are making money, okay?
Well, who's they? Because he then says that we are all in a Washington ghetto where we worship King Roosevelt. So who's they?
The Jews.
But we're the Jews in this song. Aren't we? This is like Christian identity all over again. I can't figure out who the Jews are.
Do,
right.
do, 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 do.
Well,
Also,
that
it's, so
ruined
the
that
lyrics
song
are
for
only
me.
the beginning, and then it's only.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he's doing it. He's doing one a day, I guess. He's got to knock these things out. I mean, really, you don't have to ask for much. It's Weird Al, by the way. This is making me appreciate Weird Al Yankovic a lot more. Like the amount of effort he puts into a parody. You know, this is the amount of effort. This, what we're listening to now, is like the bare minimum of what you can do with a good band.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
So
No, but like, so this song, I mean, tell me you don't feel some Bundism there, huh?
in the sense that it's cringy.
I mean, well,
oh, and the voice, the hilarious.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it literally...
He's a parody
the
of a
first
German.
words-
He's a parody of a
the-
Nazi.
Yeah, no, the first words in the song are, the Jews of USA have asked Eddie Cantor to make a new version of his famous old-timer, making whoopee.
Oh, God.
It's like
It's
the
like
most...
the Jennifer's a party pooper guy. It's
I guess
exactly
this is
like
where
him.
the stereotype comes from, right? I mean, like, this is like you had Fritz Kuhn saying this shit and getting laughed at, and then this guy makes a fucking version of making whoopee in which the first word is the Jews.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another Jewish business trick. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That's strong grounds for a stereotype. I mean,
Yeah.
But you have to like wonder kind of what was going through their head, because I mean, the thing
Meth.
about the Bund that wasn't very successful was their anti-Semitism. Like that was like proved too much for like kind of polite society in America. So what? They thought like the average troop was gonna listen to this and be like, "Yes, let's kill the Jews that are also in the army here."
yeah. Here, first of
Like,
all,
what?
before we get to that, let me fuck up a song that you love.
Yes.
Perfect strategy.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if like a lot of people found this fucking funny.
It's funny on a lot of levels, is the thing. Like, or at least it's only legitimately funny on one level, which
Yeah,
is
I mean, it's supposed to be
the irony
funny,
of its
but like
existence,
humorless people would find it funny the way the people, the Nazis who made this would find it funny, which is not why it's funny.
right.
It's funny that
thank
they
you.
think it's funny. That's what
Yes.
it's funny about it.
We are smarter than you, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess, yeah. Because like what's funny about changing the songs of a very popular and good song into a few Nazi lyrics? I mean, it's not really like, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, that's like this troll humor, which is like, okay,
Right.
cool.
But like in the song, we definitely see what, you know, the Bund was advocating for and what most of the American Nazis were advocating for before the war, which is like non-intervention into a European conflict, right?
Yes.
So like, you know, they say, you know, democracy is our motto. Think of what a war can bring. And like this gets more explicit in some of the other songs that are like, again, more targeted towards an American audience. And I think that's the next song we're going to listen to. But I mean, their general point is that America wouldn't be in this war if it wasn't for Roosevelt being a Jew and or controlled by the Jews.
Right.
And so like the Jews occupy Washington, which is why they say Washington is our ghetto. Roosevelt is our king. Democracy is our motto, which means it's a motto. It means it's not real, right? Like the Jews are controlling the whole thing. And that they want to make a war so that, they can make money.
Yeah.
And then they say, you are the goy folks, we are the boy folks, which doesn't make much sense. He did that, I think, just for the sake of rhyme. Because what does that mean, boy folks?
Well, it's creepy. Stop saying it. It's creepy.
It does sound kind of creepy, right? Like,
we like boy folk.
Yeah.
Well, like Ray used to say, more pedophiles than NAMBLA in the Nazis. Yes.
Yes, that's what Ray always used to say.
He used to say that back in the day.
Yes.
When we used to go to these swing parties.
Mm-hmm.
Swinger parties?
That's not what I said.
You and Ray having a day out in the swinger party.
And talking about NAMBLA and the Nazis.
Yes.
Nazis.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
We got our own thing, whatever.
Yes.
Don't get
Fair
jealous.
enough. I ain't kink shaming. But since, we kind of set the stage for that kind of Nazi anti-interventionism, let's go into the next song. I think maybe this might be our final song evening.
Final swing song.
Yes. So this song, which is called FDR Jones, is the name of an actual song, which apparently was written in the late 30s to satirize the practice of black people who had named their children after FDR. And it was recorded and performed by Ella Fitzgerald, but also by Judy Garland in blackface.
Weird.
And so there's already kind of a big racist overtone to this song to begin with.
There's no need to make it more racist, really.
Aha, Ray, but that's what you would think. But there's no anti-Semitism in the song. And that's what a song like this desperately needs.
Oh, Jesus.
Is a little talk about the Jews. God. Let's see what they have in store for us here.
Okay.
All right. I'll count it down. 1, 2, 3, go.
It's a Hebrew holiday everywhere. For the Jewish family has a brand new heir. He's their joy, heaven sent, and they proudly present Mr. Franklin D. Roosevelt Jones. He's grown up, but I'm afraid he will stray with a name like the one that he's got today. He sent the boys to Iceland shores to engage in foreign wars. Mr. Franklin D. Roosevelt Jones. Non-intervention, how he shows it.
Oh, God.
His decision to send troops along. Oh, what a jam.
Big anti-war.
And I'll bet he knows it. But he thinks that he can't go wrong. But the folks in the world all agree. He's aggressive as he can be. If he could, he'd like to be known to those in history as the big emperor D. Roosevelt Jones. Yes, sirree, yes, sirree, yes, sirree, yes, sirree.
This is the best part. This one's just fucking cringe. It's just like lame as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, the music's fine.
Yeah, music's fucking great.
Yeah.
You pretty much can't dislike this kind of music. It's like the most universally like approachable music.
No, I think it's I'm really curious to see what the audience is going to let us get away with as far as clips goes in this.
A little clarinet solo. They're going Jewish a little bit.
It's so sad though that these guys are like rocking for this motherfucker, you know?
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, seriously, again, it's like what is it? 30 seconds of lyrics.
Yeah. That's the formula.
2 minutes of jamming. It is a jam band.
What a schizophrenic position to be in as a jazz musician.
Yeah, for real. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, this is the only way we can play the music that we know to play and like, and yes, it's very odd.
Yeah, I mean, they are by definition collaborators.
Yeah.
But at least in the case of like, what's his name? Freddie Brockspear.
Yeah.
It was like the only kind of choice he had, right, as being like a Jew. But yeah, I mean, I guess, they had, so according to like interviews with them later, and like I said before, I'm not sure if this is them just trying to cover up the fact that they knew what they were doing. One of the guys, this guy that played the trumpet, seemed totally fine with it. He was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I like playing this music.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks that
artists, you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. But they were like, shit, we're getting paid to like play music that we aren't allowed to play and is what we know how to play.
Yeah. Like
most of them before had like illustrious careers, had played with like American jazz musicians, had played, toured all around the world, this kind of thing.
And we're probably really like friends with like not only Jewish, but also like anti-fascist, communist, anarchist people.
Absolutely.
A part of a subculture that was hated by Nazis. So,
well, I mean, most of the people that they played with were black and Jewish.
Yeah.
So, they were kind of surprised to be allowed to do this. Now, again, they all basically say that they didn't really know Charlie that well. Charlie wasn't like part of the band. And as the war started to wind down, they continued to play like all the time, right? And Berlin was getting bombed, which is like there was a particular irony to it because like a lot of the songs that were directed towards the British were about, the bombing will stop once you give up.
Oof.
And then the tides turn and they're getting fucking bombed nonstop, to the point that like, they're getting bombed during the daytime, which wasn't a thing before, which is when they recorded too. And so it became like a big thing. Their sessions were getting interrupted and they eventually got evacuated to Stuttgart, where eventually the Americans come in, right? The Americans take Stuttgart. They actually lucked out because from what I understand, they were originally supposed to be evacuated to Breslau, which is Wrocław in Poland, which means that they would have been caught by the Red Army.
Yeah.
Which means they would have been fucking playing clarinets in a gulag in fucking Siberia.
Yeah, that would have been that. Yeah.
But instead, they got caught by the Americans, who were very happy to see them. And according to that guy Fritz, he was like in some village and like sitting in some house, like hiding out because the Americans had just taken over. And there was an American Jeep like driving around the village with a loudspeaker calling his name. And he comes out there and the rest of the band is sitting in this Jeep, which is like a couple Italian guys, like these Dutch guys, a couple other Germans. And they're like, hey, yeah, we're looking for you. Cause these guys, like they want to fucking, hear this music. They want somebody to play for them. Right. Because like they had heard this music the whole time. They're like, these guys actually know how to play the music that we like.
Crazy.
So let's just get him to play for us again.
But not, what's his name though, right? Of course, the lyricist.
No, Charlie, or Carl.
Carl.
Carl. Yeah, Carl Schwendler didn't end up with the rest of the band, but he did like survive the war. And
was he recruited by the CIA?
That's not clear.
Okay. I was just guessing.
So
what music would he be making today?
That's a good question. Although
I'll send you a link.
So he actually did do some music. Sorry. I'm just remembering this now. But like he played with some other bands and he just went back to singing the originals of songs. But then like the story of what happened to him kind of goes in all kinds of different directions. And honestly, I haven't investigated enough to be able to say with any confidence what happened to him, because like one story is that he went to the US and one story is that he like stayed in Germany. and it's not quite clear. But with the rest of them, they all continued to have like pretty normal music careers. So like the guys that played in like the instruments in the swing bands continued to play swing music for the American occupiers. And that was it. They had pretty good careers after that. Now, they didn't necessarily want to talk about their role. Like in that documentary that I saw,
like when Van Halen changed singers, nobody really wanted to bring up.
Well, but only a couple of them really wanted to talk about it. One was the guy that was part Jewish and was like, yeah, this is the other thing. The other guy was the German guy who was like the trumpet player who did kind of seem like he was okay with everything. Mm-hmm. And then the Italian guy who was just like, I was making money and fucking around.
Hey, I'm Italian.
And then every time, like he was also literally a stereotype. They were like, oh yeah, the Italian guy was fucking crazy. He was like playing pranks in Berlin and like doing shit that like wasn't allowed.
I hope he was also like really small and in like a pinstripe suit. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell his height because he was sitting in the film. But
what did he play? Do you remember what he played?
I think he also played a trumpet.
Okay.
He was a trumpet player. Yeah.
It's a very, very weird story.
Yeah, it's a very weird story. And like, I don't know. I feel like the whole story about Karl Schwendler himself hasn't been thoroughly investigated enough, or at least there isn't much that I could find on it. And I'm really curious about his background before the war.
Okay.
Because there's very little information about that. And
we should try and make an episode just on him at some point. If we can find anything.
Yeah, or if we can find somebody who knows about this like more extensively, because it is interesting. I mean, like, okay, yes, we said it before, like he does sound like a stereotypical German. Mm-hmm. He was clearly like doing the straight up propaganda shit, but the English is good.
Yes.
I mean, the puns to some extent work. And in some songs, a lot more than others. Like, I mean, again, there's a huge repertoire here. Like, we did 3 songs that kind of exemplify certain points of like anti-Semitism and like the anti-communist song that ironically almost kind of sounds communist. But there's a lot more. I mean, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of songs. And a lot of it was lost, but there is a lot of it that's available. Well, and so, to quote Gil Scott-Heron,
not who I expected. Not who I expected at all.
Ain't no new thing, which if you know that famous poem of his, it's about white people stealing black people's music. Now, that's a general thing that we all know about. But with Nazis, it's particularly funny.
Yes.
And this is like kind of the earliest example of that, which is like their pop music was garbage. And the music that was popular was to them degenerate, bad music made by inferior races.
Right.
That like in Nazi propaganda videos, it was like really insane. Like it's like, you think this is like the USA, but look at this. This is the jungles of Africa or something. It's, like jazz.
Yeah.
But that's what the people listen to. And so, they did this, which was of course directed towards a foreign audience, but we all know that, and they knew that people were still listening to these records. And that's a time-honored Nazi tradition of like, hey, because like what would like traditional Nazi music be?
Well,
right. So from what I read, like one of the objections that they had was about the instrumentation of these bands. And if you included a harpsichord, for example, it would be more Germanic. And so some of these guys actually from this band later, right before the war ended, were like performing their own pieces on harpsichord, but doing like jazz style, just so it would like fit some sort of weird criteria
of high
like,
culture
what is acceptable for like Germanic peoples to listen to or whatever.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it doesn't leave
very
you very much options.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like I said, what's the biggest hit of like Germany from the time? Lily Marlene, which by the way was broadcast by Radio Belgrade. When Belgrade was occupied, that was turned into the military radio station for all of Germany, and that's where like the Lily Marlene was popularized. But even that later was like banned by the Germans.
Okay.
because it became like kind of too popular and maybe like not Aryan enough or something. I don't know.
Jesus. The only song anybody liked, they banned.
Right.
Yeah, great.
So, I mean, it doesn't really leave them with that much. Like what, marching songs? That shit gets old.
Yes. And also everybody has marching songs. That's like English have that. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, but they don't have
they were not a very creative
German
people.
marching song. Well, they weren't very good at like pop culture. It's like exceedingly bad at it.
Yeah.
I think the closest that they maybe got to any kind of like weird Nazis to pop culture is like the American Nazi Party's like hate nanny stuff later on. But like that was just fucking garbage, like hate country music.
Yeah.
And country music, whatever. I mean, that's
a big tent, country music.
Exactly. And hate nanny is literally like the stereotype of like racist country music. So whatever. But if we fast forward a bit to, what we all know as like Nazi oi music that comes from, skinhead culture in the UK, which is Jamaican, like Nazi ska and shit like that. It's like utterly unoriginal.
Of course.
It's like let's copy something and put our lyrics over and make it for other unimaginative white people.
Yes. Not to mention that Screwdriver in the first albums that everyone mentions that are not explicitly Nazi.
Oh, the one that's like, that's actually good. It's good oil.
That's the worst music. That's worse than Oi. I mean, that's...
Yeah, actually, to be honest, like, their later Nazi songs are more catchy than the fucking
it's
one.
It's better music than non-Nazi stuff, by far. Yeah. I mean, that's just horrible rock music. Yeah, I don't know, like, these people who like that, I don't know how's that possible. They're just like a horrible band. It's like...
Well, it's like people that like are like fetishize like early oi music because it's like real and authentic or whatever. It's like, man, like, to be honest, like, I like a lot of oi music, but early Screwdriver is not that good, dog, for real. Like, it's not. And it gets even worse. Like,
No, it's not good at all. No.
Like, the more you try to like hammer it into my head that like, oh, that's a classic oi album, that's good. It's just, I listen to it. Okay, all screwed up. Great. It sounds like every other oi band from the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing exceptional. Like I said, their Nazi shit is more catchy, but it's Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely...
I think that's like people that like secretly also listen to the Nazi ones too. And
yeah. I think the closest they got to having an actual subculture that's fascist is probably neo-folk, I would say. Like, in the sense that it's dominated really by fascist groups that a lot of them like pretend to not be fascist and is really part of a kind of a larger subculture which has themes that come out of what fascists have as a kind of culture or subculture, like their philosophers, thinkers, Evola, Spengler, whatever, and those themes. And so, yeah, I would say that's the closest they got to having like their own subculture.
Yeah, and it's remarkably boring fucking music.
Yeah.
I mean, I said it before in the fucking first arc. Like, I know a lot of people like that kind of music, but goddamn, is that fucking shit boring? Like, you're better off just like copying fucking ska music or whatever.
Yeah,
like at least it like animates people. Jesus Christ. Like, the best you get out of neofolk is like, depressive Nazis who hate everything. Like this shitty
like
ass
Nazis.
music.
Yeah, exactly. That like depressed Nazis, like Nazis who gave up and are like singing about the end of the Western culture. Okay, like.
Right, again, Nazis not necessarily good at pop culture here. No. There's not very much universal appeal. This isn't fucking Making Whoopee. Like, this is like a song where you hear it and you're like, damn, that sticks in my head. That's a fucking, that slaps. It's, listen to like Richard Molt cry for like 2 hours.
Of course, then there is Thompson. That's
I was just thinking about Thompson using partisan songs.
Well, no, I mean he's a fascist who has like a huge following in Croatia. So
but this is what I was gonna say. Like original Nazis.
Yeah.
When you get farther east, you get music that's a little bit better. The spicy white people, whatever. And yeah, no, I'm talking about Germany, Western Europe here. They can't produce like anything that's worthwhile. Like they either have to steal it from Africans or
Yeah.
they steal it from black people. Because what the fuck is German like? Was it like fucking oompa oompa music?
Yeah, I mean,
Which I guess is fine.
Which Tejano did better anyway. So
Which Tejano did better, and also Croats did better.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
All right, we're going all kinds of weird directions.
We're
now.
just kind of shitting on German high culture now, but I'm into it.
Oh, that's fine. We should.
Like, I'm confused. Are we talking about Nazis or about Germans? I think a lot of this is about Germans.
We're past caring. Yes.
We're talking about Nazis, but also that Germans don't have good music.
Anything.
I specifically said from the beginning of the episode, Nazis can't do pop culture. Germans can do pop culture.
Yes.
But it's not Nazi ones.
One word, 2 syllables, Modo.
Come on, Genghis Khan.
There's just like, yeah.
It's the most hilarious fucking band ever.
No, yeah, the Germans definitely have, like, yeah, they can do pop culture, yes.
They can do pop culture. Nazi pop culture, Nazi pop. There's no such thing as Nazi pop music. It was bad. Lily Marlene, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that was even written before the fucking Nazis.
I have a parody song I'd like to share with you guys. I also don't know if it's usable.
Okay.
Fair warning. So this would be like the modern version of what we've been doing today. I'm going to paste it here in our, there we go, on our encrypted Death Valley chat server.
All right.
So this is...
wait, it started.
Don't start it. Don't.
It started automatically.
Yeah, it does that. It's BitChute. Yeah, okay, so this is built on whose song is that? The Look What You Made Me Do. Look What You Made Me Do. You know that song? Look what you made me do. All right, so you can guess what they rhyme do with now.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, whose fucking song is that? Look, Taylor Swift. It's fucking Taylor Swift. Okay. It's some white person who writes music, if you don't know who that is. All right, so I lost it. There we go. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Fuck. We're not going to use this. Let's just see.
I think I heard this.
I think I made you listen to it before.
Yeah.
Oh, this is... Yeah.
This is what happens when you don't have a badass band behind you.
We don't like their virus games.
Oh, God.
Don't
It's
want
really
their
bad.
worldwide cage.
This is a regular commentator on
BitChute.
BitChute.
Be slaves. No, we don't like Jews. We don't want their end of times. How they dance when they spy. They said all whites must die. It's all true.
Oh, did they?
They often say that.
Jews.
Yeah.
All the time.
But we got wise and we got learned in the art of war.
We got learned in
Fighting
the art of
wars
war.
to defeat and we all know the score. We've got lots of enemies, all cloaked in red Bolshevik. But us once,
Red
they
Bolshevik.
can't win this time.
But the photo is the National Bolsheviks.
Look at all
Sure.
the commie Jews. Look at all the lying commie Jews. Look at all the commie Jews. Look at all the
So,
commie
Mr.
Jews.
Rogers?
Look at all the
Mr.
commie
Rogers,
Jews.
Tom Hanks,
Look at all the
George
lying
Bush,
commie Jews.
Cuomo.
Look at all the commie Jews.
All commies and
Like
Jews.
their million
Okay, that's enough.
bees.
Okay. I mean, it's... Honestly, it is thematically
It's
pretty similar.
It really is, right?
It's just...
This hurts the soul.
it's
so
just
much.
worse.
Yeah.
So bad.
Because it's kind of less original in the lyrical content. Maybe I'm just being generous to old Carl there, but
Maybe it's just worse music. Like
It's
maybe,
also-
maybe we like
yeah.
the old music better. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's also a worse version of worse music. So it's a lot.
yeah,
So just to finish up this horrible person. Okay.
yes,
The person who made this, just to give some perspective, and also puts her in line with these Nazi swingers that we had before from the swinger parties.
yeah. From the Swinger parties.
Yeah. This woman also has in common with them that she's kind of an old school Nazi. Like doesn't like people like James Mason and stuff like that. Said very anti-Nazi Bowl, like a traditional Nazi. Parody.
Although had that Knott's Bowl picture in her video.
But that's probably not meant to be like a good, because it's in a series.
Yeah. So they are just also Knott's Bowls are actually just commies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly her position. Yeah. Like calls out Anglin for being a Knott's Bowl and stuff, and that's like
right.
But that's it. So anyway, it's still like, I don't know, to end on such a low note, like that's the depressing depths to which Nazi parody music has sunk.
Yeah, I mean Nazi parody is like obviously still a thing. Like I said, like this shit is like original kind of Nazi trolling bullshit. Like
Yeah.
We're talking about the swing, the swing.
The swing shit. Yeah. The swinger. Music from the war. Yeah. It's the original trolling. But as we can see, as Fritz has shown us, it gets pretty much the same thing today. I think maybe slightly less original, but whatever.
There's more lyrics now, but they're worse.
Yes, more lyrics, but they're stupider.
Yeah,
even stupider than it's a FDR is controlled by the Jews.
Well, in the old times they knew it was stupid, so let's say it all in 30 seconds and then just enjoy the music. That's good.
I think that was the only good strategy out of all of this, was to stop talking.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, let's I can only come up with 30 seconds of lyrics. Let's let these guys who want to play music actually play music.
Yes.
He might have done better just like not even singing or talking at all, and then later on people are like, hey, you know that band that we love, did you know that the leader's a Nazi? Like that probably would have had a bigger effect than him opening his stupid mouth.
Yeah.
So you're saying if Goering had let them compose their own songs
and just be like a band, and then at one point, like today, we would be like, did you guys know that Charlie and his orchestra were Nazis? Like the unknown history of Charlie and his orchestra, I mean, Mussolini's son was a famous jazz musician, and was like quite successful, and like
was he a fascist?
I don't think he ever disavowed his father, ever. And like, I mean, like I think the whole like Mussolini family continued to like support him. But like I think fascist Italy's position towards jazz was slightly different than Nazi Germany's. When Nazi Germany like banned it outright, in Italy like there was some wiggle room for some time. But like from what I understand, like Mussolini's son, like he would like later in his life, he was a celebrated jazz musician and also sometimes play like fascist songs here and there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Italy didn't have this denazification thing at all.
Well, yeah, and they also didn't. I mean, they didn't have the same kind of racial laws from the beginning. So, like, they didn't ban jazz outright.
Yeah.
Originally, I mean, jazz was also banned in the Soviet Union, by the way, for a long time as being like degenerate bourgeois music. Yeah.
All right. So
anyway,
Dinesh D'Souza was right, is what Boris is saying, and
it wasn't banned in Yugoslavia.
It certainly wasn't.
It also didn't have Nazi lyrics.
Not until later.
I mean, the jazz music never had Nazi lyrics in Yugoslavia.
No. But the trend of taking popular songs and putting fascist lyrics to them was something that people in the former Yugoslavia did quite well. Although it was for songs usually originating from that area. So.
All right, so before we close it out, I mean, I don't want to end on that fucking horrible, depressing note from BitChute we just played. So, swing. Maybe we go back to swing because it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. Which is what der Swingjugend would say back in Nazi Germany. That's my transition to the end of this episode. We want to talk about the Edelweiss Piraten, pretty lovable group, and maybe just a bit about these like swing youth. So I mean, not a whole lot. We're just kind of closing out here on a high note. That's all we wanted. We got sad. I got sad, and I wanted something nice. So this is what we're gonna do.
Yes.
So there was also an anti-Nazi swing movement I guess the center of which was Hamburg, at least for the swing youth. And they basically trolled Hitler Youth. That was one of their primary functions, and the other was to like have a safe place for Jews to party with them, and it's all right. And they love swing music too. So there you go. There's some nice German swing music from Nazi Germany.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, this music was immensely popular, like regardless of it being banned, right? And so obviously, when you ban that kind of music, you get a big subculture.
Yeah,
that emerges around it. I'm not sure how much did they actually like protect Jews?
No, I don't know that they didn't. Like the people that the Jews and the Mischling that like came to party with them, they were the first to get picked up. In fact, like going and associating with these clubs was already seen as a threat. So if you were like, it was not a safe place, honestly.
No, like the SS like took it pretty seriously about like breaking up their parties and shit like that. And you had to be like kind of a pretty big badass to engage in that subculture.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and they would also dress in a way that they were notably part of that culture. Like they would wear a lot more makeup. They would dress in this like hip English style and stuff like that. They were easily identifiable. Yeah. I guess they're kind of like mods, kind of in Nazi Germany.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you got people like the Edelweiss Piraten who were also like an anti-fascist youth group. They were I don't know how much they loved swing, but probably it was cool.
I think they were a part of like the kind of jazz subculture in Germany.
Great. They were rad. We had briefly mentioned them in the Henry Ford episode, in our first episode of this arc, where we talked about how the Edelweiss Piraten would do these little sabotage activities at the Ford plant in Germany there. So we're going to end with some nice anti-fascist music from back then. All right, guys. So see you later.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Кичмана бежали два урекана, дай на во-во-во-во-во-во-во-во, пивной на Фридрихштрассе, они остановились отдохнуть. Ах, Геббельс малохольный, скажи моей ты маме, что я решил весь мир завоевать. С танкою в рукою, с отмычкою в другою, я буду все народы покорять. Пойди по всем малинам и быстро собери там ты всех блатных, кто на руку не чист. Отныне уже не будет зваться он бандитом, а будет национал-социалист.